Hello, and welcome to the HPTV Podcast, where we talk about all things Harry Potter on HBO. I'm Mitchell, here with Jamie and Steven. You can follow us anywhere on social media at HPTVPod or email us at hptvpodcast@gmail.com. Well, it's been a little bit slower news time, guys. There's been some shooting here. It seems to be people celebrating the downfall of Voldemort. But I was telling you guys, there's a guy on a roof, and it kind of looked like he had a wand. But then when you get close up, it kind of looks like it was just a twig. And I wonder if they're going to digitally replace the wand, and they just didn't want it to get leaked. But have you guys seen
some
anything?
random guy on his roof, and people overreacted because
There was a whole crew. There was a whole crew.
I think it's almost Halloween. I think rogue people are just going out and actually think that they should celebrate the downfall of Lord Voldemort.
I think it would be funny if they filmed some things just to throw people off. Just like, you know how they do fake scripts for like the final Game of Thrones season? If they were like, Nicholas Flamel's not really going to be on the beach. It was just a joke.
They just hired some guy.
See, my whole Dumbledore on the beach thing, maybe that's all just a misdirect because it makes zero sense. There is no Dumbledore on the beach in this.
The budget is there. The budget is there.
But there's been a few things like, okay, so we've talked, I think we've shown a little bit on TikTok. We didn't record last week. We didn't have an episode coming, and that's when a lot of like photos and stuff were leaked. But most people have seen those by now. But there has been a little bit more of like, where is this placed? Why is this happening? And they're showing Godric's Hollow, and then like a whole bunch of kids out trick-or-treating, which I asked Mitchell about, and I was like, would that have happened in England in the 90s? Which was like, no, like people barely trick-or-treat now, right?
I could be wrong.
Maybe
There's
the
neighborhoods
wizarding
or
folk.
communities where it happened more. But yeah, it is weird that because things do happen on Halloween night. So I guess that's how they're showing it, even though it's just trick-or-treating is not really a big thing. And as Halloween grows here, we're in 2025 and this took place in the 90s. So unless maybe that was a big year, it was like Hocus Pocus came out, we're going to try it.
We're gonna test this out. But I have a couple of theories. Obviously, like it's a wizarding like neighborhood, right? Godric's Hollow.
Well,
and
I
so
don't
maybe
think
they do, but why would they be trick-or-treating when they have like other things to celebrate, I guess?
Godric's Hollow is not exclusively wizards, I will say.
Oh, okay,
they do specifically say that
Oh,
Hogsmeade is the only exclusively wizard one. Now there was another bit of footage, and they shot on the outcropping of funky shaped rocks on the coast in Deathly Hallows when they're going around. They shot there again, exact same spot, but it seemed to be again just like one person with a wand or something like people's. But it's interesting to go back to the same location, and I do wonder, do we have someone on the location scouting team from the original films?
Well, and also like reshoots, B-roll, things they missed. But what I was gonna say with the trick-or-treating too, I did think of Hocus Pocus. I thought about us as millennials and the movies we watched around Halloween as kids, and I feel like they're really playing up to our nostalgia. So I kind of like the idea that they're like filming towards us, like the audience for the show.
So not too focused on like reality and how they did things, but they're focused on what, we millennials will pay
and
to see.
it's cool that they're showing a little more of Godric's Hollow, I guess.
Well, there's a lot of signage that says Godric's Hollow, so you got to think, are we going to get like a long shot of Voldemort walking through the village on the way to the Potters? Are we going to get them going home one night or something? Because we know we're getting a bit more with them. But yeah, between that and Diagon Alley, I don't know which of those we talked about. Like, we're getting quite a bit. Although Diagon Alley is like someone got fired for those pictures. And then someone...
It's like a whole foot, like someone walking down the street.
Well, no. So one of those videos was AI, I found out later.
Oh, okay.
So, but I mean, because there are pictures of storefronts and a couple of pictures down the lane, like, probably isn't that far off.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if they're going to build out, like you said, the sequence of like Voldemort walking through Godric's Hollow. Because that way, spoiler alert, when it comes to Cursed Child, they can circle back to that exact moment when they go do that, season 9 or whatever.
We need to revisit this. Have either of you decided if you're going to see the tour is coming to both of your cities?
Tickets haven't gone on sale for me yet here.
What are the percentage chances you go?
Depends on the price. If they're as much as Stevens are, no way.
I
would say right now
ones.
It's a 60% chance I would go.
I'm probably like 70. Honestly, after we talked about it, I talked about it with you guys, like my biggest worry is not like my kids are going to want to go, but whether, it's going to confuse them with the not canon, storyline and them being like time travel's back in the mix and we can go do all this crap. And like, so I think it'd be cool to see, but I don't want to taint them,
I don't want my children to know this. Blasphemy.
Right.
I want to pretend it's
Better.
not happening.
Just fly down here, Jamie, and we'll go. It'll be great.
I know, I should.
If I have a friend who's going to watch the movies over winter break, and I just said, don't do it. Just wait for the TV show. Or, of course, I said, read the books. And she's like, Mitchell, there's just no chance I'm going to read the books. There's no chance I'm going to listen to the books. I just won't. And I said, if the only way you're going to engage with the story is visually, just wait for the TV show. And she refuses. So you just can't win. But my child, I can control that thing for at least another 5 years.
Yeah, I've lost control. My daughter's watching
What you
movies,
think?
but
What you think? My 3-year-old these days, uncontrollable. That girl is nuts, I tell you.
She does seem a
Adorable,
little bit.
but man, she is too much right now. Anyway, we haven't got her hooked on Harry Potter yet. I think my 7-year-old, though, he just turned 7, and he has been very interested, partially because we've been doing the book club stuff with their cousins, and we get on there, and he doesn't know what's going on, so we keep kicking him out because we want to spoil him. And he's like, I want to learn about Harry Potter now. And I was like, do you? We were practicing reading yesterday, so I'm like, we're going to get you there soon.
All of your kids are like very good readers. You guys have like 12 kids between you, and like they all seem to be ahead of the curve.
I mean, the other two picked up reading like really early. Yeah. My 7-year-old's like, he's right on time, but the other two were way ahead of the curve. And so with him, it almost feels like he's behind or something, but he's not. We've checked, we Googled.
I think I was a faster reader in 2nd grade than I am now, honestly. I was reading, they're going to do the HBO show for The Hedge Knight, and it's only like, it's a really short novella that they're making this Game of Thrones spinoff of. And so I read it in like 2 hours or maybe 3 hours. And I was like, I think I'm slow. I think this is really rough, which is the antithesis of listening to podcasts at 2.5 speed all the time.
Well, being on TikTok,
your brain is just too tired, you know?
I know, it is ruining our brains, isn't it?
I know.
I had one last piece of news. They released a 2.5-minute snippet of the first audiobook for when Harry, Ron, and Hermione meet. And so you kind of get an idea. They have this background sound of the train, and they have the new narrator. And also you get a lot of the new Hermione, Arabella Stanton, speaking. And I was like, I hope it's better than this in the TV show. I don't want to criticize an 11-year-old, but I think I just did.
But that comes out like next week, eh? Right? Or is that further into November?
I thought it was November.
Yeah, next week is November. Mitch?
What? Flip.
November 4th, I believe it comes out. So
we'll be able to do a review pretty quick here of that the first audiobook.
Mitchell, you're coming to America in like 4 weeks. Get ready. Less than 4 weeks.
It's well less than 4 weeks.
I feel like we need to sing that song.
I just don't see you for like 4 weeks. But you will be in America.
Well, I see you in 3. Steven's actually the one I'm the furthest away from. See.
Closest geographically, but time-wise, I'm last.
Yeah. Well, we put you last so that we fly out from you
shorter flight
and have a shorter
flight.
Well,
and so I'm the uncle that, your son has the best, clearest memories of when he goes home.
I don't know. He's going to spend 2 weeks with Denise, and he's already met her. I mean, and so yes, you're you're the only uncle on that side. So well, there's uncle-in-laws. I don't know. Sorry, Isaac. And he'll also see Joel when he sees you. So I don't know. Anyway, I went to a birthday celebration this weekend, which was really just a house party. But they were like, you do not need to dress up. Like, it is not a Halloween thing. And I'd say about 30% of the party was dressed up. And then a lot of people were going to parties afterwards for Halloween. And I was like, I've never been more pleased to not be invited to Halloween parties for once. But I am invited to one, but we're not expected to dress up, but we are expected to bring our babies dressed up.
Aww.
So
babies are cute.
That's the thing, though, is they're cute. My Halloween costume this year is a lei. Like, I'm wearing a lei. I actually wore my like cruise shirt too, because our youngest are dressing up as Lilo and Stitch, and so me and my wife we're wearing leis. We're gonna be just islanders, I guess, or tourists. And it's the best costume ever because it doesn't get any easier than popping on a lei. Let me tell you, I had to be the Scarecrow last year from Wizard of Oz, and man, that like grass stuff like itches.
I've been a Scarecrow, yeah.
So I'm
Seth does have a Stitch costume, so I'll take some pictures. But that was gifted to us, so who
wore it better? We're gonna have a contest. Liam against Seth.
Guessing they're very different, but we can compare.
Well, Liam is a little bit more of a literal monster. I don't mean that in a bad way, but he's as chaotic as Stitch sometimes.
I just traveled with some family for a wedding, and we had a 3-year-old with us, and I think that kid might give Tommy and Liam a run for their money. He's a
Yeah.
wild one, but I love
He
him.
is much calmer now than
I
he
love
used
them
to
all.
be, but Liam is taking up the mantle.
Excited to see all those children. Let's talk about our
That's true.
subject for the day, which is the Hogwarts Express, which is, a magical but muggle-inspired form of transportation. And we'll get to the crux of that in a second. But Steven, what other means are wizards getting around with?
So there's a lot of them. There's a lot of ways that wizards have figured out how to get from point A to point B. Probably not as well as us muggles have, though. It seems like it's all a little slower. I don't know. But first, broomsticks. We talked about broomsticks and Quidditch in a past episode, so I won't beat that horse. But there's the Floo Network, which we do learn about in a little bit when it pertains to getting to Hogwarts. We'll talk about that. But it connects all the fireplaces, and you use a special powder in order to get from one to the other. And there's actually a department in the ministry which regulates the Floo Network. And on occasion, they've connected it to Hogwarts or to other places temporarily to get people around. But there are some downsides. It makes some people sick and things. Portkeys are another one, which are random looking objects, which at a predetermined time will take the person to a predetermined location. So they use these in the World Cup. We see them in the fourth book. And the ministry uses them in emergency situations. They can be time activated or touch activated, actually, as we also learn in the fourth book. But it can be pretty disorienting. And if people miss their time window, then there's no, catching that train. It's gone. It's gone. Apparition
Did you say that
is
on
really.
purpose? Did you do
Yes, I
catching that
did.
train intentionally? Okay, just check.
I did, because we've got, trains to talk about today. But apparition and disapparition, I guess one is leaving a place and one is arriving in another place, but just, you don't drive from
leaving
one
it.
place and drive
You're
to another
appearing
place.
and disappearing. It took me years to
Yes.
understand that.
That is true. I guess the root of the word is there. But it does require a license, so you have to pass a test. This is also closely monitored by the Ministry of Magic. And if you're not good at it, or even if you are good at it, you can get splinched, which is where you leave pieces of your body behind. And sometimes it's an eyebrow, and sometimes it's like your heart and lungs. I don't know. So that can be pretty serious when that goes poorly.
Snitches get splinches.
They should. But it can't cross strong magical barriers. So like Hogwarts has a lot of barriers protecting it from people apparating into there. And they can also create anti-apparition zones. So if people try to apparate into those, bad things happen and they get splitched. And it just requires a lot of concentration and focus, which is not easy for a lot of people to do. We also have flying cars and flying motorbikes. So these are just, muggle vehicles that are enchanted to be able to fly. And we learned of a lovely loophole where it doesn't count as underage magic for kids to fly a car that was enchanted by an adult wizard or motorbike. So
but it's also a
always fun
loophole that
finding
you're not
loopholes.
supposed to do that, but you can enchant it if you don't have the intention of flying it.
This is
According
true.
to
So if you have a
Arthur
father who
Weasley.
enchants a car without the intention of actually driving it, but then his kids drive it, everyone's in the clear. Nobody did anything wrong.
Underrated move by Arthur.
It was very slick, I gotta say. And then we have some magical creatures as well. So you've got thestrals and hippogriffs, which can fly. With riders, dragons, which I don't know if there's a lot of examples of, but obviously in the seventh book. And then Fox the Phoenix, we know, also has the ability to carry heavy loads, at least the weight of Harry and Ginny together, right? And Ron, and
Lockhart.
Lockhart. Yeah, they were all together. So yeah, 4 people. That's a strong, bird. And then there's other just enchanted vehicles like the night bus. So the night bus doesn't fly. It's not enchanted that way, but it can jump from location to location, which is kind of cool to think about. The Durmstrang ship, which goes underwater and then appears somewhere else in another body of water. And the Beauxbaton's carriage, which also flies, but it's because it is being pulled by giant winged horses, Abraxan horses specifically. So there's just different ways for them to be able to do that. And then we also have time travel, of course, which, causes lots of problems. And so that's the time turners. And then finally, like magical gateways and locations. So they usually have some kind of special thing you got to do to get in there. But like platform 9 3/4 is one. Secret entrances to Hogwarts through all those secret passages, like in Honeydukes and the Shrieking Shack and so forth. And then Diagon Alley, where you have to tap the right pattern on the bricks in order to get in there. So they found lots of ways to create barriers and portals and lots of cool flying objects in order to get around, instead of just, the good old-fashioned gas vehicles on the highway that we like to use.
I've got to say, outside of apparition, muggles are really doing quite well in comparison on the whole transportation front, especially once we get those stargates working again. Okay, let's talk about the Hogwarts Express. So, of all these things that Steven talked about, which I don't know if you mentioned magical carpets, but I did like that they were a factor
Just
in the
another
Goblet.
flying thing.
They were talked about. Anything can fly if you bewitch it, you know?
That's fun to think about.
What could you bewitch? All right. So, how did students get to Hogwarts? This is a summary of something from J.K. Rowling, what she wrote for Pottermore. Some rode broomsticks, but tough to do with trunks and pets. Others commandeered enchanted carts and carriages. Some apparated, but caused issues because you can't apparate into Hogwarts. So, why couldn't you apparate to the gates, which people do all the time? Just saying. And sidelong apparition. If you're a good apparator, we know, you could suck. But muggles were unfortunately seeing people kind of fly in a lot of these ways. So they were trying to come up with other ways to get everyone to Hogwarts. But it was still the responsibility of parents to get their kids to school right up until the International Statute of Secrecy 1692 really cut down on the different ways to want to avoid muggle eyes. So it became pretty urgent to try and get kids up there. So Portkeys were a big one, but the logistic caused problems. Now, all their excuses for why this didn't work don't make any sense to me. They're like, people would miss them. People would get, okay, let's just be more organized. Don't miss your freaking Portkey, or you miss a day of school. Get over it. Anyway.
You can't miss the train. The train also lives at a set time.
And, well, if you have a flying car in the parking lot, you're good if you miss the train.
But also with the Portkey thing, you can Portkey from anywhere. If you have to get the train, you have to get to London. Imagine living in Liverpool, having to go all the way down to London just to go back up to Scotland. It's silly, other than I think I would enjoy the train experience. But then I don't know if your muggle devices work, because, if I can't scroll TikTok on the train, what are we doing? Important to know, I did not ride a train for the vast majority of my life. Now I rode 5 trains a day. It is very weird. I know they're not choo-choo trains, as I like to call a steam engine, or a speed train, but they are trains. So now that there was Portkeys weren't good enough, unregulated travel wasn't good enough, they were like, how can we securely do this? So a bunch of headmasters were trying to figure it out, and there was a daring solution suggested by Minister for Magic, Audeline Gamble, who was intrigued by Muggle inventions and saw the potential in trains. So the exact route of the Hogwarts Express has never been proven, although it's a fact that there are secret records of the Ministry of Magic detailing a mass operation involving 167 memory charms and the largest ever mass concealment charm in Britain. The morning after these alleged crimes, a gleaming scarlet steam engine and carriages astounded the villagers of Hogsmeade, who also did not realize there was a railway station, while several bemused Muggle railway workers spent the rest of the year grappling with the uncomfortable feeling that they had mislaid something important. So there you go. They were like, this is the most practical way to do it. We're going to steal the Muggle ideas. Why they do trains and radios, but not other Muggle things. It's a book.
So
it's a book for kids.
Is the whole train track unplottable then? And people, or do they use existing lines?
I bet they use a lot of Muggle lines, and in fact, obviously, very famously, the big bridge you cross over in Scotland is a real bridge that is quite a tourist attraction. I should also note that there were a bunch of people who were thinking trains were unsafe and also didn't trust that, or they didn't want their kids getting into that Muggle contraption, which, Spies Lucius hasn't said anything.
And she said at the end that people were fighting it, but then the ministry came out and said that there was no other option. They had to take the train or they just didn't go to school. And that shut them up. And I will also say, so she talks about in that article on Pottermore that a lot of it had to do with Portkey sickness, and the other ways made people have motion sickness, basically. And as someone who has motion sickness, a train also causes motion sickness. And my whole thought is why didn't they just, and it makes me sad to know, if I was a witch, that there is no apparent cure for my motion sickness. Instead, the best choice I have is to ride a train.
Can't there be an adult there that can here's Dramamine Amigo, that's the spell. It totally makes sense.
If chocolate could cure you of depression, then my hell, man, give me something
some of those
for my motion sickness.
Seasick bracelets. Those worked a charm for me.
So wait, Mitchell, in your summary, do we know what year it was they started using the Hogwarts Express?
I bet if I looked up that Minister of Magic, I could figure it out.
I have it all copied and
Jamie's
pasted.
got it up here.
1962 was the statute, or 1692 was the statute of secrecy.
So that's when they started doing
then.
Portkeys, and then they did some trial and error. But I don't know if it. Let's see. Adeline Gamble was the Ministress of Magic. She was born in 1810. And does it say? Oh, she was the officer. This doesn't make sense. It says she was the Minister of Magic in 1827. If she was born in 1810, she was a 17-year-old Minister of Magic, like King Tutankhamun level
like a
here.
Padme Amidala thing going on, yeah.
So yeah, it looks like 1830 is what the Harry Potter fan Wikia is saying. So well before
we're talking like a true steam engine.
Yes, as it is to this day, maybe with the aid of some magic, and the steam is just there for decoration. But I think more importantly, obviously, the Hogwarts Express is like this. It's symbolic, taking Harry up, being this, you're almost into the magical world. This is where, social things happen. Like, remember on the first day of school, you wear your nicest outfit, you've got a new backpack. Like, that's all happening on this train journey up to school, and you get the freedom once again of being on your own. And so some important things happen to Harry, or don't happen to Harry, on the Hogwarts Express. So Jamie, can you take us through some of the key moments through our canonical books? We'll visit non-canon after this. What happens on this beautiful Scarlet steam engine?
Oh, I was also going to add, J.K. Rowling thought of the book on a train. So there's also that. I mean, that's probably where a lot of people think there. But anyway, so in book 1, Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone. So it's the first time we see the Hogwarts Express. Harry meets the Weasleys for the first time. We also learn that you have to go through a secret barrier at King's Cross to get on the Express. He meets Ron Weasley, obviously, on the train, and they become best buds. He also meets Hermione Granger, Neville Longbottom, and the Weasley twins there. And then also his first encounter with Draco with Crabbe and Goyle as a threesome there. And he declines Draco's offer to kind of buddy up with him, and that kind of initiates that storyline of the feud that goes on with them. So yeah, that's the first time we're on the train. And we also meet the trolley witch, who is just ruined later in the non-canon world.
She's just selling her wares. All right, calm down. That sounds right. She's selling snacks.
Candy.
But we learned that the kids travel on the first book. We learned the kids travel to Hogwarts on there. We learned that they change on the train from their muggle clothing into their robes, so that they go through King's Cross and everything looking like muggles, and they can have snacks from the trolley. That's kind of like our basis there. Book 2, we get nothing outside of an outside view of the train as Harry and Ron follow it, because they cannot get through to the train because of Dobby, who closes the barrier. And so they just follow the train there. We're not actually ever on the train. And then in book 3, Prisoner of Azkaban, we have a pretty big moment on the train. First, we meet Professor Remus Lupin, although he is asleep.
R.J. Lupin.
And the train stops mid-journey, and Dementors board the train, and Harry passes out when he comes face to face with a Dementor. And he wakes back up on the train and is given chocolate by Lupin, which helps him recover somewhat from that. And then we get to know Lupin a little bit on the train. In Goblet of Fire, we travel on the train. I feel like it's a shorter part on the train because we had just come from the World Cup. So they mostly discuss the events that happened there. And they're also trying to figure out what's going to be happening at Hogwarts that year, because the older Weasley brothers keep teasing that something big's happening at Hogwarts. And then Malfoy comes into the conversation and kind of mocks them for not knowing that the Triwizard Cup was going to be happening at Hogwarts that year. In Order of the Phoenix, it's the first time Harry's separated from Ron and Hermione, because they have to travel in a separate car because they are prefects. For part of they meet up partway through. But that's where Harry meets up with Neville and meets Luna Lovegood. And it's the first encounter he has with the Quibbler. Harry is squirted by a Mimbulus Mimbletonia. Is that what it's called? A plant that Neville has. And so then he has an embarrassing moment when Cho comes and he's covered in whatever that thing splashed you in. And I think it was stinky too, whatever. So then he meets up with Ron and Hermione. We learn that Malfoy is a prefect. And a change that happens there is when they get to Hogsmeade Station, Professor Grubbly Plank picks up the first years, and that's noted instead of Hagrid. But the biggest thing I would say happens there is that Luna Lovegood is introduced. who in the movies we don't meet until the festival. And then in book 6, again, Ron and Hermione are prefects. Harry gets on the drain last minute because he's talking to Arthur about stuff going on with the Malfoys. And we see again Professor Slughorn, and he has his private compartment, and he has a little recruitment for the Slug Club. Malfoy sneaks off to a separate compartment with his Slytherin friends, and Harry follows him and hides under the invisibility cloak in the luggage rack. Malfoy captures Harry and puts a stunning charm on him. Is that what it was? And
Full
then
body
Tonks,
bind. That's what it was.
And then Tonks finds Harry, and they have to jump off the train while it's moving, heading back to London, I guess. I don't know what else. Where else does this train go? Does it go park somewhere?
Everyone just said, like, it really makes 4 trips a year because it also goes back on Christmas. That's it, right?
Yeah, but why is it going back to London? Anyway. And then at the end of that year, the Hogwarts Express takes some students home early after the death of Dumbledore in a somber departure. And then in book 7, we do not see the Hogwarts Express, but we do find out later that Death Eaters board the train while searching for Harry, and Neville kind of stands up to them, and that Luna Lovegood is most likely abducted from the Hogwarts Express or getting on or off the Hogwarts Express at that time. And then we have, at the end of that book, the epilogue, and we are not on the train necessarily, but we are on platform 9 3/4 in front of the train. And Harry, Jenny, Ron, and Hermione bring their children, James, Albus, Lily, Rose, and Hugo, to board the train. And then post-book events, not canon. Mitchell can add anything to this because I have not seen and I have not read Cursed Child since it came out. But they go on the journey on the train. Albus Potter meets Scorpius Malfoy. They become fast friends. The reverse relationship their fathers had. They jump off the Hogwarts Express during their 4th year as part of their Time Turner mission. And for some dumb reason, the Trolley Witch is a crazy lady who tries to stop them, and it reveals her magical role of becoming a psycho and preventing people escaping the train.
It's her eternal duty. Yeah, it's interesting because obviously King's Cross is separate, but that's where Harry kind of has the vision with Dumbledore. It is a really good setting for some of that stuff, and it's used quite a lot in Cursed Child. I mean, there's a couple other token little scenes where they just sit on the train for a moment as each year starts, and they kind of descend into that story. But yeah, a few other random little bits. Like in the films, we actually get to see Neville stand up to the Death Eaters in an addition to the books. The locomotive used in the films is a GWR 4900 class 5972 Olton Hall 460. And then there's all this stuff that's debated about that actual train and train enthusiasts and how they actually feel. But also, some people are saying now they weren't using the train until the 1920s. This is very confusing. But Olton Hall, very important to note, and also that it's shown with varying number of compartments throughout the films. Obviously, we generally see individual compartments, and then in the 6th, to kind of facilitate the Malfoy thing, we see more of an open hall compartment, which again, like Hagrid's hut, let's just keep consistent, okay? Harry, it made it harder that Harry had to sneak into the Slytherin compartment. Anyway.
Also, trains can have different compartments like that, so I don't think it's the most wild thing.
All right. Yeah, well, there's no so that it's lunch compartment.
Just change it.
Yeah, where's the food? Like the dining.
Well, the Trolley Witch, man.
Yeah, how long are they on that train? Because it leaves at what time? And they're there, like, it's hours on there. There should be more than just
I will say,
crazy
so we've been
Witch.
reading Chamber of Secrets, and Harry and Ron are in that car for a long time. They're like hot and starving, and it's like hours, which makes sense for a train ride, but they need more than just the Trolley Witch's cart, okay? They need a full meal.
I think a fun thing about the train is that there's the possibility to actually sit on this train in many different ways in the real world. It was easy to replicate. So we see it as a ride, a photo opportunity. Stephen, tell us about some of the ways you can interact with the Hogwarts Express in real life.
There's the Scottish steam train, Jacobite steam train, which everyone calls the real life Hogwarts Express because it goes, like you were saying, through the Scottish Highlands along those areas that we see in the movies. And you can actually go ride it. It's seasonal, apparently. It doesn't go during the wintertime, but you can get a ticket and ride it up and down the Highlands, and it is beautiful. Apparently, it's 84 miles round trip. There is a historic film connection because the actual locomotive used in the movies, like Mitchell was saying, is a certain model that I'm not going to repeat because it doesn't mean a lot of things to us non-train enthusiasts. The Olden
GWR,
Hall. There we go.
4800, 5922. I just made some of that up.
But then they renamed it to the Hogwarts Castle, and
Yeah.
so that gave it a cooler name that had more to do with it. But then it's been recreated, obviously, like Mitchell was saying. So the actual one they used for the movies is on display at the Warner Brothers Studio Tour in London, near Watford. And so you can go sit in that one and take pictures, like Mitchell was saying. I think we have a lot of pictures of family members.
Well, I
in that
think they
train, but I've never
have
been.
the train, but then it's separate. Like they have open lit areas where you can pay for them to take a fancy. I forgot you haven't been there, Steve. Where you can pay
I've
for
never
them to
been
like
there.
take a compartment picture of you. And I believe there's a Harry Potter studio tour in Tokyo, I think it is in Tokyo as well, where you can do the same thing.
Okay, so I have to more carefully reading my notes. It has been displayed at the studio tour, but it's not always there apparently. So I might have known that if I'd ever gone, but poor.
You
So
don't want to
haven't
visit
done that
me.
yet.
I get it.
We did visit you, and I didn't go to the tour because I hung out with your ugly face instead. But then there's replicas in all the different parks. So each of the theme parks, at the very least, has one that people can stand next to and take a picture with in Hogsmeade. And then in Universal Orlando, you can actually ride one, which I've always found kind of weird because there's the one out there by the entrance to Hogsmeade you can take a picture with. But then you go into the station just a little ways over, and then you get on another one that moves. And so it's kind of like, why is there two? But I won't complain.
We forgive for the photo op.
Well, there originally was only one.
It's true. Well, yeah,
And for the
no,
photo
it was.
op.
But I'd rather have two Hogwarts Expresses than no Hogwarts Express, right, in one location. So I'm going to roll with it. And so that's where you can get on and actually ride. And it's a really cool experience because the windows are actually screens. And so there is a different journey each direction, right? You see different things along the way. And it feels like a pretty long ride. I'm trying to remember how long it actually takes. You don't actually travel that far, but it feels like you are because the screens are moving faster. And there's some action that happens. I don't know if I want to spoil too much about it, but then there's the thing we were going to talk about with Hermione's voice, because there's a part where you're in your train compartment and you hear Harry, Ron, and some chick who apparently is supposed to be Hermione talking just outside your compartment, but it didn't sound like Hermione for a really long time.
They fixed it about a year ago, but for the first good 10 years of the park, it was like, why? No, it didn't even try to sound like Emma Watson. Maybe there's a rights issue, but I could have done a better impression. It was bad.
It sounded like Saoirse Rowan.
Yeah, it kind of had this very northern, like Scottish vibe.
Yeah, it was. I feel like the first time I ever wrote it, I didn't notice it being the wrong. I guess I'm just assuming it was the right voice, and then it switched back. It was the wrong one. It's been wrong the whole time until recently. So
who's this bitch?
Yeah, don't mess that up, right? Maybe they can replace it with Arabella Stanton now, and that'll be acceptable. We'll have to see. But yeah, so we have all these different iterations we can go see. And then the newest one is Harry Potter Hogwarts Express Adventure, which we don't know a lot about yet, but this was announced back on the Return to Hogwarts Day, September 1st. And it's supposed to be happening in multiple locations. They don't really even specify if it's in the U.S. or if it's across different locations outside the U.S. too. But really, it's going to be real trains. So what they say was on the site is it's a Hogwarts Express adventure boarding in 2026. It's a magical train ride aboard a real moving train with every detail unforgettable. So it suggests it's an immersive, has immersive elements like house competitions, spell casting thrills, and more. We don't know where it's going to be. That has not been shared. We don't know who's going to operate it or anything. But there are like train locations around. I think we talked about this a little bit in another episode where they do where they go Polar Express. I want to say North Pole Express. But like that's been done in a lot of different places and stuff. So there's these places with these trains that they dress up to be a certain experience. And it sounds like there's going to be a Hogwarts Express kind of standardized one that people can go out and see. I'll just see if there's any of those happening here in Florida. So I can go.
Well, the company that's helping them with it, as part of it, has done experiences in Colorado. So if anywhere in the world it ends up in Colorado, that would be pretty cool. And I will have to come back and visit.
There are like a lot of train experiences you can go to in Colorado.
And I haven't been on a single one.
No, you didn't go on a field trip or anything to like the Royal Gorge or to Georgetown or?
Me neither.
Never.
No, I know that I went on one and we rode a train. I think it was Royal Gorge.
I've been to the train museum,
super long.
And you can ride a train there, but not the Royal Gorge.
Well, now you'll get a chance to go because I bet that's where they'll do it.
My favorite train at Universal is the Back to the Future 3 time traveling train.
That one's at Universal.
Yeah, it's on display.
I was thinking I was trying to think of rides, and I was like, "There's no ride with that, Mitchell." But I think you're right.
Well,
on display.
Interesting for that is there's supposed to be some Back to the Future stuff coming to the Universal here. They've also trademarked the word Emerald City, so there may be some Wicked coming, which I think you kind of have to go Emerald City, but I like the entrance to the school that I can't think of the name of right now. And I was like, Shiz, they could just make a train, go from Shiz to Emerald City in 2 different Universal parks and use the same track as Hogwarts. And you get on the Shizmobile.
Okay, you guys wait in line here while the Shizmobile goes.
Add a second track.
Mitchell's going to start a train amusement park where you travel on all the trains.
Well, trains are a very important part of amusement park lore and history. That's one of the big things that Walt Disney cared about was trains.
We love trains. America was
But he was a train enthusiast. He would have known what all those letters you read meant. He'd have been like, oh, yeah, that's important.
Yeah. There's a whole train enthusiasm community. Trains here are so expensive. Like, for me to get to Manchester on a train, it's cheaper for me to fly to Spain. Thus, I have never been to Manchester. But I do have to ride, like, the inner London trains every day of my life, pretty much. And I'm sick of them already. I'm anti-train. There's this fancy train that goes up to Scotland called the New Caledonian. And it's like 300 minimum to go up there. And there's all these fancy trains around Switzerland. I went on a double-decker train in the Netherlands. Europeans love trains, and don't get me wrong, it would be great if the U.S. had more infrastructure for it. It's too expensive at this point, and it's better for the planet, all that.
Well,
but I'm over it.
We have Amtrak, which, like, you could travel across the U.S. on Amtrak. It is unbelievably expensive and pretty crappy. I mean, of course you could get, like, a room and everything, but it's not, like, the nicest thing. So it takes a million times as long as flying. And then it's not as nice. And then you're paying like 10 times as much. It makes no sense. I'm like, I think it'd be cool to do a train ride one time, but I'm like, no.
Well, if you want to do it, you'd want to do it as like a luxury experience or do like a Murder on the Orient Express experience. Murder.
Reenactment.
Yeah. Anyway,
Murder on the Amtrak Express is what that would be called. And I'm sure that happens pretty frequently, actually. We just don't hear about it.
But I think overall, the Hogwarts Express is a big introduction to us to the Hogwarts world. Like, we see a bit of the magical world before it, but to Harry, it represents so much. And like Mitchell talked about in Deathly Hallows, like the place Harry goes back to when, he's kind of in like this almost kind of heaven where his mind takes him is King's Cross Station, because it's his divide between the Muggle world and the magical world, but it also kind of saved him from the Muggle world and like his hard life. So it's very important to the story. And I think also a train is where the story was thought up. We wouldn't have
she had to include a train in the story.
And like,
that's what she thought of it, right?
I had to take a train to Scotland and back for work at one point, and I was like, it is a great place to be alone with your thoughts if you're not in a crowded carriage full of annoying, smelly people and loud people. Other train moments that are important. Harry asked the Charlie Witch for Mars bars. And I was always like, what's a Mars bar? Because like, it's just a Milky Way, guys. And Milky Ways here are something different because they do have a bar called the Milky Way.
Don't we have Mars bars? What's the counter to an Almond Joy?
Mars bars are basically like
mounds.
Mounds, yeah.
I don't know why.
We had Mars bars. I don't know if they sell them all the time, but for a while. But it was basically like a Snickers, but with almonds or something. From what I remember, it wasn't.
Yeah, very different from here. Also, here a Smartie is something different. And today, somebody gave me something called a Swizzler, and it was Smarties. Anyway, I digress. But
wait, so Swizzlers are Smarties, and Smarties are M&Ms or something, right? Basically,
they're like aren't they?
No, they're like they're kind of like chewy. Oh, I can't think of the candy. No, like almost like a bigger Skittle.
Oh.
Hannah likes them. Anyway, sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. There are many important thematic elements to Hogwarts Express, and many important fun things happen on there. And we had a great time with
food.
And food. And also, the going through platform 9 3/4 invisible wall is fun, and you can also do that in real life. So there you go.
That is one of the cooler things. And I will say, too, that when you are at the parks, right, trying to get on the Hogwarts Express, the line is really cool. It's one of those where they did a really good job with the queue, even though it's very long. But you're like, it very much feels like you're in a station and there's luggage. And then you go, before you actually get to the platform, right, you do go through like the magical barrier. And so if you haven't done it, but you can see videos of people when you yourself are going through, you get the whole whooshing sound like you're traveling through. Other people watching, they can actually see you go through this, apparently solid wall. And they
And
did a
in
very good job with it.
at King's Cross, you can pretend you're going through the wall, and you can also do that at the studio.
They
tour.
have a trolley that's halfway into the wall, which is cool.
But yeah,
I wish, because back in the day, people would just try and go to the barrier between platforms 9 and 10, and then King's Cross literally had to like set up a Harry Potter scene and stop people from doing that because it was getting in the way of operations. Also, they used to do a send-off every I think up until 2022 or 3, they would do a send-off every September 1st, and they've stopped allowing that. They'll no longer do a countdown. But actually, at least in 24, New York did it at Grand Central Station, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So they did find its way into real life just a little bit.
But it's a very cool experience that I always wanted to have. So we'll check that one off the list, and we'll go through the rest of the movies and series and see all the other things they need to make real life iterations of so we can go do them. That'd be great.
I do want to do this fancy experience one. I assume one will be in this here United Kingdom, so I'll make it happen. What are we going to talk about next week?
Let me look.
Jamie has a whole document that she made herself. It was not made by ChatGPT.
I don't even know how you make a document for sheets in ChatGPT. I'm not that talented. I typed all this out, and then Mitchell accuses me. The sorting hat? Should we do the sorting hat?
Ooh, let's do the sorting hat. I hope you enjoyed our journey on the Hogwarts HPTV Express today. But next week, we're going to be talking about the all-important sorting hat and all of its many thoughts and brains and brims and things. I'm looking forward to it. I would need a hat. Hats are all over the books, not in the films. Anyway, I digress. Thanks for joining us. Please, again, follow us at HPTV Pod on socials or email us at HPTVPodcast@gmail.com. If you have any thoughts, feelings, ideas, we have a good time on the social medias. Jamie, would you send us out?
Peace out, snitches.